right, everybody, it's a little bit of an unusual Pele Report here. I'm not hiking, I'm barely walking. I crashed my bicycle, and my knee is the size of a small watermelon. What can I say? Hands got messed up, went over the handlebars on a gravel road. I'm glad I didn't break my neck. So there's going to be no river behind me and there's no nature. I'm very sorry. I hope you're tuning in for astrology and not just nature. Okay. And I want to use what I did because, I did it exactly at the Mercury Mars Saturn conjunction at 7 degrees of Aries. I mean, you may have felt a little something yourself last Sunday. Yeah, it's just a few days ago. And boom, this energy is still moving forward. We still have this Aries energy. We still have, the war going on, and these peace talks are bullshit, and this fighting is going to continue. Life is a battlefield. Life is always battling death. We need to fight to survive. When we lose the will to live, when we lose that drive to live, then yes, the forces of death, the forces of, whether it's mold or fungus or composting, we will begin to deteriorate and pass away. And this has to do even with frequency. I want to talk a little bit about frequency, particularly on the long webinar I'm doing on May 2nd, where I'm going to go into much greater detail about what is coming up for 25, 26, 27, 28, even into the 2030s. And we are really headed for, a big shift. And it has already begun, as you may imagine. The aspects for this week, and the big one I want to be talking about, is first of all, Venus conjuncts Uranus tomorrow at the 29th degree of Taurus, which is resources, banks, finances, and money. So we may see some shifts because Venus rules Taurus. Venus has to do with money. And Uranus is sudden, unpredictable, extreme changes. Price of gas, price of oil, price of plane tickets, disappearing stock markets, whatever. All kinds of shifts can be happening here this week. It's going to be really something. And then Uranus moves into Gemini, on Saturday. And it's going to stay there for 7 years. It's a big shift. 7 years in Taurus, 7 years in Gemini. Goes around every 84 years. This is a big shift. I want to be talking about that today. Right now, the moon is moving through Cancer. She's going to go into Leo by tomorrow, Thursday. And then we'll have that first quarter square moon. I will read you the Sabian symbol, and that is at the 3rd degree, 56 minutes. So I will read the 4th degree Sabian symbol, which I feel really applies to some things that are going on right now. And so you're going to be feeling your feelings, and then over Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you're going to get into your Leo fire, and Moon's going to trine all of that Aries as she goes through Leo, and then she's going to go into Virgo, And by Saturday, when she goes into Virgo, things are going to be shifting around a little bit. That is also when the Sun squares Pluto, Taurus to Aquarius. You may want to look back because the Sun was conjunct Pluto on January 24th. Look back to late January, and that was like a death rebirth, the end of the old and the wanting to birth anew. Now the sun comes around to that 90 degrees square to Pluto, and it is like the chicken cracking out of the egg. The first quarter square is leave the past behind, okay? Overcome doubt, overcome fear, and overcome the past to really use that energy to begin the new cycle. So this sun square Pluto, and this is the thing about it, is it's the square is usually a challenge. I call it creative tension. And so again, we can have a situation where things are challenging. Things are difficult. You may need to assert, right? You may need to fight. You may need to really put your truth out there. Boom. In order to survive. Pluto actually rules death. So, yikes. These are intense, heavy times. Yeah. The other aspects that's going on, with all of this is, like I said, Venus comes around to Uranus. We have, fluctuations with finances. The thing that I want to talk about here is Uranus moving into Gemini. Okay. 7 years in Taurus, 7 years in Gemini. And Uranus is the great awakener. Prometheus, the light bearer. It is the aha moment where the lights go off, right? The light goes off, the light goes on. And you see, okay, what has been not known or not clear. And I've spoken before, if you've been watching previous Pele reports, how we are starting a 35-year cycle, Saturn, Neptune, of disillusionment. Yes? And in so many ways, this is Neptune. Neptune has to do with illusions. We could say Uranus is almost the opposite of Neptune, because Neptune is dreams, sleep, innocence, naivety. And Uranus is awaken, enlighten. It may be shocking, it may be traumatic, but it's truth, a universal truth. Uranus is like the alarm clock that wakes us up from our Neptunian dreams. And one of these innocent, naive illusions and problems that innocence brings is taking things for granted. And you can just think of it as a baby. A baby just takes for granted that they're going to be fed, they're going to be clothed, they're going to be kept warm, they're going to be nurtured. Mom is going to be there, right? Yeah. And then if not, screaming and shouting and tantrums and right? This is. And, life will repeatedly remind us not to take things for granted. I cannot take this body for granted, okay? We cannot take love, okay? Venus, Uranus. We cannot take love for granted. Don't take your relationships for granted. And Venus's money. Don't take your money for granted. It's like, this is this time of a great awakening. And people can go on about, yes, everybody's going to wake up. It's true. But that doesn't mean we're going to wake up, like yesterday, I woke up feeling like shit. Today, I actually woke up pretty spunky. And kind of like ready to, go at it, so there's different kinds of wake ups. You see what I'm saying? Right? And this wake up is going to be, yes, we will be waking up to multi-dimensional spiritual worlds. Our extrasensory perception will be opening as Neptune goes through Aries, okay? And we will be, seeing and understanding, more than we have been up till this point. But we will also be seeing, okay, the lies and the bullshit that has been perpetrated upon us culturally, through our political institutions, our medical institutions, our educational institutions, our banking institutions, you name it. Our media institutions. This is all, okay, things are all going to be rising up to the surface so that the collective, not just the select few, but everyone is going to be able to see, aha, there's been propaganda. Okay, I have been lied to. They've been telling me that, I have a vote and I'm free and that money, if I work, I'll, get a retirement or da da da. We're going to see the whole world go through shocking, okay, changes. And these shocking changes are designed by the universal spiritual intelligence to awaken us to a charade that has been going on for hundreds of years and has been locking humanity down into slavery. I'll talk about it more in my May 2nd 2-hour video, a Zoom that I'm going to, this webinar I'm going to have. I'm going to explain, okay, more about the world situation, okay, and I'll go also into how we maintain a high frequency. Just think of frequency as energy vibrating. It's the life force. And as you keep your frequency at a high vibration, okay, regardless of mental, emotional, physical, spiritual dilemmas and shocks to your system, okay, you keep this frequency and it's going to let everything move away, fall away. Even Yogi Bhajan said this. He says, if you don't need therapy. He says, if you are, really doing, your spiritual practice and you're maintaining this super high frequency, yeah, you're like a rocket shooting through the atmosphere and you leave your fuselage behind. This is possible. There's ways to do it. And that's what I want to go into in that webinar. But today I'm going to just focus more on, this week, on what's coming up. The Sun squares Pluto. The last Sun square Pluto was January 24th. Think of what was going on at the end of January for you, okay? That was the death, the end of an old identity. Sun is identity. Pluto is death and resurrection, right? So the Sun comes around to Pluto, boom, dies, comes back up and moves on into a new identity, a new self, a new purpose, a new pathway forward. Now, the first quarter, that 90-degree square, tests. It's a test. Yeah? And you need to really let go of the past, let go of the fuselage so that your rocket can continue on to the moon. But there is this doubt, this hesitation. There can be a crisis involved with this Sun square Pluto. Again, this battle of life and death. The Sun is life, Pluto is death. These two come at odds with each other, and we need to really rise up. Rise up. Well, that was one of the songs I was thinking of for this week's song is Love is a Battlefield. But I have a better one that goes with the mantra, okay? But yeah, let me keep moving along here. I get sidetracked. But yeah, this is the Sabian symbol for this first quarter square moon that is coming tomorrow, right? Yeah, Thursday. 3 degrees 56 minutes of Leo moon, okay, squaring that sun at 3 degrees 56 minutes of Taurus. Moon's moving now through Cancer, getting our emotions and our feelings. That has to do with our mantra for today. And then coming out into Leo and dancing and expressing and playing and creating. And then it goes into Virgo, like get it together, finish it up, polish it, refine it, perfect it. And then she goes into Libra by Tuesday. Yeah. So the square I find interesting because it just makes me think of Trump. A formally dressed elderly man stands near trophies he brought back from a hunting expedition. The masculine will to conquer his animal nature and to improve his peers and to impress his peers with his skill in performing the ancient traditional power rituals. The symbol may be interpreted at the strictly social level. The hunter's trophies, his pride in showing them to members of his high-class club, etc. But if one refers to the higher spiritual mental implications of the sign Leo, one can see in this picture a reference to our capacity to overcome the animalistic tendencies of our biopsychic nature according to certain traditional procedures. The implication of being formally dressed is that an important, if not the most important, goal the individual had in developing this capacity has been to prove himself to others as well as perhaps to himself. We have to prove ourselves to ourselves that we can manage it, that we can handle it, that we can stand it, that we can rise above it, that we are free individual beings. This is the process of individuation, right? It's the fourth stage of the 25th fivefold sequence. The symbol can be referred to eagerness to show oneself to the best of one's advantage, which is characteristic of the Leo temperament, to dramatize one's achievements. Yeah. Whether it is in a social context, and here we can also I wanted to get into a little bit of what this Gemini is about. Because whether it's collective or personal, we have the situation of Gemini being the third sign of the zodiac. It closes off the first quarter hemisphere, like the first quarter moon. Things begin in Aries, and that is the new spark of life. Individuated, a new impulse. And then it comes through Taurus, which is the collective habits. Yeah? What's already existing. Your physical body, your inheritance, what your parents' money. Okay, whether it is, individually, this is our individual spark. Then in the second house in Taurus, we come into what is already here. And in Gemini, there is a little bit of a battle between these twins. These twins go back and forth with thumb wars. They go back and forth between what is going to win out, the new spark or the collective past. The new individual, will I use everything that I have and been given and society gives me, to like really to my advantage, to, to express my individual self? Or will I not be strong enough, not be weak enough, and be taken over by collective needs, collective, habits of the past and and I will lose myself in this collectivity. So this Gemini phase and Uranus moving into Gemini for the next 7 years, there's going to be this little bit of a battle going on between the Aries individual and the Taurus collective fixed what is. So, will the future Aries, break through the past and use all the resources and everything that, have a new understanding of money, a new understanding of resources, a new relationship, okay, to the world and to Mother Earth and to Gaia, all right? Or will the patriarchal, hierarchical, materialistic ways of the past predominate and swallow up, right? The new. So yeah, it's true. As kind of spiritual warriors, we come on here to bring light and love and beauty to the world, and that is also a process, right? Of of being an alarm clock, of maybe saying some uncomfortable things or talking about the taboo or talking about things people aren't comfortable with, but it's waking us up. And we're all getting woken up to the fallacies and the lies that we have been fed through the media, through our institutions, educational, political, religious, you name it. All our institutions have been pretty fried. But what I really want to point out to here is what? The mantra. Yes. Like a dancer on the dance floor, I move with lightning speed. Keeping control, I go with the flow and feel completely free. Ow! I love it. I love it. Just, do you get that sense? And first I was going to say, well, dancing is more Leo. Well, the moon is going through Leo. Okay, all right. But, dancing is also... there could be different dances for different signs, right? I think maybe ballroom dancing is like Capricorn or Virgo. The tango could be Scorpio. Salsa could be Leo. You've got all these different, salsa could be Aries. Square dancing, okay, that could be Virgo. Anyway, there's probably 12 different kinds of dancing for each one of the 12 signs. But what I want to point out is, when you see these dancers, and you see a performance, isn't it phenomenal? It's beautiful. It's amazing how in control the dancer is. And when you're on the dance floor, feel how in control. You know right where your body is. You know right where your toes are and your fingers, and you send them out, and you're totally present on that dance floor, and you've got control of your body. You may not be able to control your partner. You may not be able to control the dance floor. You may not be able to control anything else, but you're in control of yourself. It's beautiful, right? I've got control. And I'm also going with the flow. How often are we in control and going with the flow? We can see these as opposites, as polarities. I'm either in control or I'm going with the flow. Well, what I want to bring up with this mantra is we can be in control and go with the flow. This is what Aries wants to do. This is what Mars, Saturn, Aries wants control. But Jupiter in Cancer, okay, this is wanting to also move with the feeling, move with the passion. And with that, I have to come to this week's song, What a Feeling Feels to Be There. What is it? Oh, you can come alive, you can dance right through your life. Take your passion, make it happen. Do 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 ba da boo ba boo dee bow. It's a great song. It's a great song. I know it's old, and it's definitely a little jaded. The music's not really today's standards, but anyway, this is what we can do. This is what we have to do. Okay, we have to rise above our obstacles. We have to face and we have to confront our limitations. We have to wake up and see and not be taking things for granted. But I have to work for that. I have to, I am a force of life, and I'm not going to let the forces of death overwhelm me and take me down. We will not be taken down. The past will not swallow the future. Absolutely not, right? So we are the forces of the future. We are Uranus. Venus, Uranus. We got to love Venus, the future, Uranus. This is a time, this is a week. I want to encourage you, though there may be upsetting news, there may be, problems that are, brought up, there may be blocks that you experience or losses that you experience. You got to keep that passion. You got to make it happen. You got to dance right through your life. Yeah. So with that, I'll say namaste, aloha, so much love.